What I have here is what I consider one of the most controversial things you could ever pull off a car. Because a lot of questions come up of it. Can you take it off? If you take it off, what bad things could happen? Should I leave it on? Should I do this? Should I do that? I'm talking about the EGR valve, also known as the exhaust gas recirculation system. Now, the purpose of the EGR valve is to reduce NOx emissions of the exhaust gases, to recirculate it through the EGR valve into the intake manifold, and it's also supposed to lower maximum combustion temperature. But also they can get plugged, which I'm about to show here. You see, and if you think about it, why do you want exhaust gases to go into your intake manifold anyway? So what I'm going to show is how you can pull this off of your 4AC, and how can it run good. Since you can see that this one's been plugged for God knows how long, there's a pretty good chance that this thing hasn't run since the 90s. So, let's get started. Okay, on those of you who still have your EGR valve on, it should look like this. Bolted to the back of the intake manifold, with a pipe coming out of the exhaust manifold. There's a bolt here, which I'll show in a minute, that you pull out and it's got a huge hole in it. And then it connects to this pipe. So that's how the exhaust gases make it into here, and then make it into the valve. Now to pull off the two bolts of the valve, you use a 14mm wrench or socket. Pull those off, and then this comes right off. If you look in there, there's a pretty good chance it'll be clogged, and it'll be clogged in there. Now if you want to make a block-off plate, like I did, because they don't make deletion kits for this, you get a piece of cardboard, and you draw out a template, like this. And then you transfer the template to a piece of metal, like this, and you cut it out, drill the hole, and then stick it on. And you need to also have a gasket, and a lot of people can't find them. So what you do is you take RTV sealant and you wrap it, or you put it around there, and then that becomes your own gasket. I also replaced the nuts and the washers. Okay, here is where the EGR valve connects to the exhaust manifold. This part is actually welded to the EGR valve. I cut it off, and I will explain why in a minute. In order to take this off, you need a 19mm and a lot of strength. Okay. And your hands are going to turn black out during this. Okay, here's the bolt. As you can see, there's a hole in it, and that goes through this. That is connected to the EGR valve. So I cut this off, and I use this as a blocker for the exhaust manifold meeting. As you can see, I put a bolt in it, and it'll be staying there for a very long time. You take the part that I cut off, put it over it, so you can have enough room, and then you just screw it back in. Okay, there it is. That is how you do that. Now I'm going to talk about the instances of why would you do something like this. Well, I wouldn't recommend doing it if you still drive a car that has to have smog emissions, because it is an emission control device. For a car this old, I can get away with it, plus it's clogged. When you take it off, your NOx will go up, and you'll have higher combustion temps, and that's about it. If you have any reservation about doing it, don't do it. Like I said, it's a strong recommendation that if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But I just gave you a simple little how-to on how to do that. Other things in this, you can take a Dremel with a cutoff wheel and cut off some stuff on here. Right here used to have a big long thing that went to the EVAP canister. That's gone. I cut off a few of the vacuum lines sticking out, the little ports, so it would clean it up. Also, if you've noticed, I've pulled off the heat shield in between the carb and the intake manifold, and you can obviously see why. This is the end of Carb Project Part 3. Part 4 will be out soon. This is 84 Hachi signing off.